Welcome everybody to another episode 4 of the Fireside podcast. I'm your host once again, Righteous, and joining with me is QST owner and coach of Kingdoms of Kitten, Gasai. Did I say that right?
Gasai.
Gasai. Okay, I'm getting there. He corrected me before, and then I butchered it immediately, but it's okay.
It happens to the best of us.
So he's going to be joining with me today to discuss all things week 4 of Ember Cinder, as well as looking ahead to week 5. He's been a vocal, I don't want to say supporter of the podcast. He's been supportive in that he watches it, but he doesn't agree with my power ranking stake. So this is going to be a very fun discussion when we get to that portion. So we got that ahead, but first we got to start with the recap of last week, which it was sweeps across the board. People were saying it couldn't be done, but lo and behold, that's exactly what happened. Over on the Kindle side of things, Forge Esports Atlantis took the 2-0 over Rivals DX. GCCE Belmont takes the sweep over Phantom Troop Lucifer. And Jolly Rogers Calypso's Calamities falls 0-2 to feed the dream. And for the Spark division, Registered Forsaken with the FF against 4G Sports Mjolnir. KoKG takes the 2-0 over Jolly Rogers Black Pearl. And Ember Flames falls 0-2 to Solus Gaming. I don't know about you. I feel like the match results kind of played out as expected. Maybe not the game score, so to speak, but definitely the actual matches themselves. Once again, we're going to go through as they were posted in the ECL match results chat. Starting with SG taking the 2-0 over Ember Flames. It was a very quick series. It was done before game 2 of Atlantis and Rivals even started, I think. Just because they had a late start because of some other logistical issues. But looking at this, I mean, you got anything here for me, QSC? I feel like it's just more of like Ember, shows up and just gets O2'd, and that's kind of like clockwork.
Yeah,
for
I'm
them
not
at
gonna
this
lie.
point.
Just looking at the scoreboard, it looks like Jake is just dropping nukes across the board.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what this guy had for breakfast, but he needs to do it again.
Yeah. Yeah, so game 1 goes deathless on the AD Udyr 12-0 and 8. Got some solid help from his teammates as well. IDK Inc. locking in something other than a tank for once, doing really well into Smoker Scion. For Ember Flames, really the bright spot, as it's been for that team, is Nubian King. Everybody else has seemed to struggle, and that was no exception here. And then game 2, Jake once again popping off, this time on Trundle. We saw that all the way back in, I think, week 1 or week 2 from him. Huerte getting in on the action as well, going 10-4-4 on the Jinx. And then on the other side, you had a couple bright spots this game. Old Man Hands had a solid performance on Silas, and Nubian King solid on the Inara. Despite the losses, I don't know, for both of these teams, I feel like this was kind of a series that didn't really tell us anything. So for Solus, they're sitting, I believe, now at 3-1. Looked solid in every game other than GCCE Belmont's one of the favorites. And then for Ember, it just seems like whoever they play, it's more than likely going to end in an 0-2 defeat. I've been there before on rosters. It's a bad place to be, but at least they're showing up week in, week out. They're giving it their all. If you're using it as a platform to improve, that's about all you can expect. You got anything else for this series here, QST?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, for me, I don't have a whole lot because I don't know the situation that's going on over at Ember, so I don't know how they're approaching the games, if they are just working to improve or if they're just for funning. So I don't want to like have a take about them because I don't want to upset anyone.
Yeah, that's
But
just wrong or whatever. Yeah.
yeah,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, my guess is that they're they're probably put together pretty last minute. They probably don't scrim, and
Hey, there's nothing wrong with
and
that.
that's fine. That's fine. Like if you're just getting together with the boys and the girls and just playing some games, then that's a good place to be. Um, I believe. Well, I don't know. Their division's weird, and we'll look at it. Their playoff long shots at the very least. We move on to your team taking on JR Black Pearl, picking up the 2-0 win. I don't know if you were able to stream or watch the games. I mean, I'm sure you were because you were coaching them.
I was casting it
Uh,
actually on the
oh
main
yes,
broadcast.
yes, yes, yeah. The main broadcast. Yeah, you're going in between after drafting.
Yep.
Um, so for you, I mean, you got an up close and personal look for this Jolly Rogers Black Pearl squad. Like Ember Flames, they are struggling this season in ECL. Um, what were some thoughts and takeaways from the series? You know, how did your team do? You know, Helium Bamboo subbing in. Didn't look like
Mhm.
you guys missed a beat in terms of the bot lane. But what are some of your initial thoughts after that series?
So initially for me going into this game, Helium was always going to be our starter. Red was the sub
Mm-hmm.
because she was competing in BOL playoffs on the same days as Ember games. So we were waiting for her to join the team.
Okay.
So this series was just seeing how the integration went and then just working on the game as a whole in general because we do know JR is struggling right now with both their teams. So this was our try and improve, maybe use it as a scrim sort of
Okay.
situation.
Gotcha. So respect enough to lock in some pretty good combos and work on some synergy, but a little bit of leeway to see kind of
Mhm.
how everybody gels and everything. Yeah, I mean, I know Helium had gotten some games in with Mythic Chaos before this point, and it seems like their laning was fine. A very interesting lane from JRPP locking in the Swain Thresh, not a combo we typically see. Um, Poogie, for a team that has been struggling, I feel like Poogie and King Vivi have been their most consistent players. Vivi on the Pantheon looked like they played pretty well, but Theracles generally regarded as one of the better junglers of the league. Um, the game was over in 38 minutes, so it was kind of a longer one, but it seemed pretty clean from your side. Was the goal just to, have clean map movements, don't give too much away to JRBP, because really, they have a double mage scaling,
Mhm.
comp, and then just look to close it out, or is that kind of how the game played out, or what kind of went down in that game one?
So the initial plan was originally just like work on map state as a whole and making plays together. But
Mm-hmm.
then the drafts happened and we were a little dumbfounded because we originally thought the brand was going to go bot and we were going to see a Swain mid. And then that didn't happen. And we were like, well, Oriana kind of just gets, to put it lightly, she just gets fisted in this matchup. Like there's
Mm-hmm.
no way for her to really play the way she wants to. So it became, all right, we've played so much with our mid being ahead and as our get us into the late game carry. Now we're going to see what mid can do being, behind or just even. And then how are we going to scale off of that and just play from behind possibly?
Okay. Cool. Yeah, I mean, Solo Rusher seemed to have a fine game despite less than favorable matchup. Um, really, yeah, like across the board, it seemed kind of tightly contested when you look at the gold differentials
Mhm.
between each individual player. The same could not be said in game two, a 27-minute, almost 28-minute win for your side. Mythic Chaos goes deathless on the Senna. Generally regarded the best on the previous patch and still seems to be doing very well on live. Theracles putting in the work on the Zinjao and Solo Rusher once again, showing some pretty nice drops on the Malzahar. Ratu getting into the action. I know the last couple pods I've been saying like, hey, this player's just they've just had to play weak side and they're showing they could do that really well. This time it gets his hands on the set into a favorable matchup into the Ornn. Now, granted, it is Nick Bob's Ornn, so I would hope that Ratsu could do well. No offense to Nick Bob, it's just kind of a meme at this point. And yeah, this game, while they did have they had a really nice scaling comp My guess is JRPP just did not play towards that condition. They played too fast too early.
Yeah. The way we saw it is they just want to fight as a whole, except for Twitch, because Twitch has the ability to stealth, and he wants to walk behind the team and get to your backline and remove them from fights with his ult.
Mm-hmm.
So our big thing was Malzahar locks down, everybody else throw hands, and then it just so worked out that going into 20 minutes, Set is 3-0 and has an entire tower, and
Yeah.
so it just kind of made it really easy for us.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks like the map state definitely favored you guys. Almost, just despite the deaths, it was almost a perfect game. JRPP only getting one dragon in game two, so kind of a well, not kind of. It was a very lopsided defeat, and KoKG continues to look strong here in ECL. Unless you have anything else, we can move on to Feed the Dream versus JRCC.
All I'm gonna say is you said something in, I think it was episode 2, about we want to see Solo play Malzahar. That dude played probably 20
That
games
was
in
that was
solo queue, and
Shane.
then the next week,
That
yeah,
was not me. That
they
was not me.
okay. Whoever it was, somebody said, "I want to see this dude play some more mages like Malzahar." That dude put in 20 games and then whipped it out the next week and went deathless and most damage in the entire week.
Yeah. Yeah, that was Shane. I do remember that. Where he's like,
Yeah,
yeah, he's like, I want to see this player just show a little bit more. And he mentioned, I think it was Rainster's Malzahar. He's like,
yeah.
I want to see him play like that. And then he did.
Anytime somebody says anything about, oh, I want to see this more from the players on KoKG, it's always, okay, they want to see it, let's throw it out there. And then they always exceed my expectations.
Yeah, that's good. So Feed the Dream takes on JRCC. They win in 2-0 fashion. Um, JRCC of the two Jolly Rogers teams, they came out on top in the Civil War. I didn't really regard them as the more talented team. Linda performs very well despite some of these losses. In game one, game goes about 35 and a half minutes. Um, I mean, Dan Dan had a really nice performance on the Mbessa. Linda, once again, despite the scoreline, seemed like she had a very nice impact in the game. But for whatever reason, I just feel like, and maybe this is like a Jolly Rogers curse, leading in the Pirates folklore. Like, whatever reason, both of their teams, just when it comes to the mid to late, despite having like pretty solid laning, they just can't get across the finish line. And that seemed to be the case here. Of course, I didn't get to watch the games, but Lily popping off the Nocturne, returning after a brief hiatus with the ESUB, Rainster going going ballistic with Ballistic Demon, 7-3 between the two of them. I, I just when I look at Feed the Dream, they just seem like a really solid team. Um, I never walk away from like looking at these match screens going like, wow, like they just crush their opponents. But they always win. They win convincingly. Um, I don't know. What do you got anything else for this game one? The Malphite build is kind of weird, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about the Malphite bill. I definitely would want somebody that's, maybe a little tankier to stand in front of my carries, especially
Uh-huh.
with Caitlyn being that so far ahead. But yeah, from the looks of this game, like it looks like these players excel really hard in the lane. They have the gold mindset of, oh, if I get ahead in lane, I can just bully the rest of the game. But that's not how it works ever, it feels like. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know exactly what's going on there, but
Yeah, and if you have that mindset and then your laning phase falls off, it's equally as hard, if not harder, to
yeah.
try to come back. And I'm sure that's kind of what happened in the bot lane. Score lines don't really tell the story, but Ballistic Demon ends up quite a bit of gold ahead of Muddy in this one. And it continues into game two, where Ballistic goes off 14-3-9 on the Zaya. Rainster had actually you know, a less than stellar performance on the Oriana, going 2-8, but the rest of the team was able to put it together and carry him across the finish line. Linda had a very nice performance on Diana, which is a very hard matchup for the Oriana, um, but didn't get a lot of help from their team. So despite the mid lane differential in game two, Feed the Dream takes the 2-0 sweep. Took him 37.5 minutes in this one. And once again, I mean, it just seems like when push comes to shove, when you get to the mid to late game, JRCC just can't seem to close it out, right? It's either one player's doing well or maybe two, but then either the rest of the map's falling apart or they can't get the objectives they want, whatever it might be. I mean, they ended up, actually 3 towers ahead in their loss. Um, they took 4 inhibitors. Like they had 2 barons. Like they had plenty of tools to close this one out, and they just couldn't do it. And so I don't know. I just this team confuses me because on paper I feel like they should be fine. Like they shouldn't be 0-4 at this point or 1-3. Sorry, they did win the Civil War, but they definitely seem to be struggling, and it's just it's an odd thing. I don't know what's going on over there.
Yeah, no, the more and more I look at this screenshot, the more and more cursed it gets. Like I'm very confused by what's going on here.
Mm-hmm.
Like as much as Zaya is stomping, this is how long did this game go? 37 minutes. This is a 37-minute game
Mm-hmm.
with Senna 80 carry in the bot lane, and we're 3, 5, and 6.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes me bring into question is bot lane not being integrated enough into the macro of team decisions? Is jungle not doing enough? I see he's 1, 6, and 6, so I don't know how much he was getting involved vocally or physically, and just not playing around the Diana, who is very obviously your win con here.
Yeah. Way to flip you. I just realized that you're backwards.
Am
Oh
I?
no!
Oh,
Hold on. No, you're good. I just flipped the
oh.
wrong thing, so that
I
I
was gonna
got
say,
that
it looks
going
like
for
I'm
me.
righteous now.
Yeah. No, no,
This is
no.
my podcast now.
Here we go. It's always one thing. There we go. Cool. Um, we move on. I think we only got 2 more games because of the FF. So we're flying through this. GCCE Belmont takes the 2-0 over Phantom Troop Lucifer. Um, we'll talk about it in the standings of the power rankings. I'm beginning to be a less and less of a believer in Phantom Troop Lucifer. Um, just because it seems like they beat the teams they should beat, and the teams that they should tightly contest, they end up losing. So it's kind of a tough place to be, like squarely middle of the pack. But if they make playoffs, who knows? This game one though, Wolf and Alchemist, the new 80 carry for GCCE, pops off a very nice team fight comp coming out from the Belmonts in this one. And you look at the other side. I don't have the draft up. I'm not going to pull it up. But the fact that we have Senna and Syndra, 2 very immobile carries, into a comp with the likes of Ambessa, Jarvan, Leona, Ari, like it was going to be hard to win the mid to late, even if you were able to scale well, just solely because there's not a lot of room for error when looking at the Belmont's comp, and it seems like that's kind of exactly the case. It went 36.5 minutes, but PTL only able to pick up 2 towers, 1 dragon. Not a lot to show for their efforts. Castor had a pretty nice performance in this game one, but they struggled the rest of the way.
Yeah, no, honestly, like going into this series, I know me and my team, we were looking at the standings and who all was playing, and this
Mm-hmm.
was a game that we were very coin flip. We were like, hey, Kagran's in and out. PTL, we know some of the people, we know that they're good players. So
Mm-hmm.
this was something that we were calling 2-1 going either way. So like I agree with you. The more and more I see these guys each week, I'm like, what has happened?
Yeah. Yeah, and like it's just one of those things that I mean, maybe it's nerves, right? Like maybe they're super confident when they play against opponents they generally perceive to be weaker, and then for whatever reason, if they feel like they're gonna get matched with a tough opponent, they just seem to falter. But um, the the only reason I bring it up is because we'll talk about it when we talk about standings. But
Mhm.
there's some teams that seem fraudulent, a little bit. Um, Game two, more of the same. So Malphite Jungle comes out. I big fan of the Malphite jungle. The build could have been better. Weird build from Tycom, but it got the job done. Um, it looks like PTL kind of read the room and said, "Oh, like they're just gonna lock team fight comps, so we should probably match that." But despite Barbar Jonks going 847, having another nice performance from Castor, once again they end up falling short. This was definitely a closer game from the looks of it. But we saw, with the Atlanta series that Belmont's has, if a game gets close and it comes down to who can execute better, Belmont seems to have a track record of being able to close out tight games, and that's what they did here. T Die gets his favorite Cassante. Um, Yupflow takes the counter and goes 1-6. It's tough look. But I don't know. Woven Alchemist. Some might be saying it was an upgrade. Moving on from Calgren, because he put in some work in these two games.
Yeah, I don't know what Wolven is doing or what he's been doing since the last time I ever talked to him. Because when the last time I ever talked to him was my first ever split playing comp, and I beat him for his starting 80 carry spot. So whatever he's doing, he's got to keep doing it because he's showing me up.
Yeah, my sources were telling me he started getting coaching. He's actually hit plat, so um, maybe something's cooking. Something's cooking. All right, last series. This is a series that I produced, and it was an ugly one. Atlantis takes the 2-0 over Rivals DX. So game one, I should say game two is really the ugly part of the series.
Oh,
Game one was a very nice game from Atlantis. They get off to a super fast start. Tactical Nuke and Call Me Loops had a very nice mid jungle synergy where, like, basically Tactical Nuke would just give Loops these like drive by shields, and the Loops would all end Razors, and Razors would die just on repeat. Because of that, that mid lane presence, the rest of the map they quickly followed. Like they just started dropping like flies. They had a nice team fight comp that they could never really team fight. Mossman was probably the bright spot for Rivals in game one. Matched up pretty well in the shakes, but come mid to late, once Atlanta started to group, it was pretty ugly for Rivals. Credit to them for making the game go along, but they didn't really offer much resistance when push came to shove. I don't know. Anything else stick out to you here in this game one, QST?
holy Thanos, this Akali.
Yeah, yeah. It was a very nice performance.
Oh yeah.
The opposite happened in game two. So Call Me Loops maybe got a little bit confident, locked in the Xinjiao mid, and just sprinted laning phase. I think Razors was like 7-0 at one point. It was pretty tough looks. Shakes is playing Scion. Nuke is doing a bunch of damage, but he keeps dying. Like, Accelerate's really the only one. Accelerate and Crow are like kind of just watching their team just burn, going, "What's going on, guys? We played so well in game one." But despite Razors getting off to a fast start, and despite Mossman putting in a ton of work on the Garen, despite them having a very nice team comp, Rivals just didn't want to win, and Atlantis just didn't want to pick up the throw. It was just back and forth, just some ugly legal legends, just back and forth, people throwing left and right. Eventually, what ends up happening is, I believe it's either Accelerate or Nuke, who looks like they get caught in mid. Rivals just like scrambles because it's so late in the game to try to pick up the kill so they can maybe close it out, and they whiff. The person doesn't end up dying. Atlantis turns the fight. There's no more team fight tools for Rivals. They end up getting aced, and then that's the ball game. The game went 35 and a half minutes. It was a very ugly one. It was. I was watching IBSG. That was for sure. Uh,
This was like my solo duo game.
it was insane. But Atlantis picks up the win. Rivals, I think we'll talk about them in the standings and the predictions and everything. They're starting to put it together, I think, just because they've landed on their core five. Um, I wonder if it's come too late in the season to really make a playoff push. We'll have to see. But game two is very ugly for both of these teams. I think I put in Twitch chat. I'm like, this is the first game I've watched where both teams effectively lost. Only one lost harder than the other. So
Yeah, I say we give them both the loss for that
yeah,
game alone.
it was definitely interesting, but it was a fun one. It was a fun one nonetheless. So we're gonna take a quick look at the standings. I believe these are accurate, more so than the actual doc over in Kindle. GCC Beaumont's the last remaining undefeated team at number one. Feed the Dream at number two. Phantom Troop Lucifer number three, quickly followed by 4G Sports Atlantis at four, and then the 1 and 3 group Rivals DX bringing up at five, and then Jolly Rogers Calypso's Calamity at six. And then for Spark, Forge Esports Mjolnir, the undefeated team over there. Your KoKG at number two. Solus Gaming at three. And then Regicide Forsaken, which I believe is going to be another GCCE squad, taking over that spot at four. Ember Flames at five. And then Jolly Rogers Black Pearl at six. Not the standings I think anybody was expecting coming into the season. But from the gameplay of the last couple of weeks, you're starting to see a pretty strong separation of the top teams of the group versus the bottom teams. Um, I meant to double check this and see if it's top four, top three. I think it's top four that makes playoff from each group.
I believe
Um,
so, yeah.
so for a lot of these teams that are, number one, number two, number three in the standings, they should feel pretty secure in their spots. I don't know all the different scenarios, but really, um, spots 4 through 6, that's where things start to get interesting moving forward. So we'll talk a little bit about that in our predictions at the end. If you want to hear our thoughts, definitely stick around. Um, but we got to do everybody's favorite part of the show, which is the power rankings, and QST gets to let me
Yes!
get an earful. I think you'll be happy. Honestly, I think this week's some of my best work. So we'll see.
I just need Thero to not be number one because we have a deal going that if he gets number one in any of the power rankings, then I have to stop calling him my kitten. If he's number one, I'm gonna be really upset.
Okay, we'll see. We're gonna start off with the team power rankings and then work our way through the individual ones. Um, oops, as I click all this pop up. So here are the team power rankings. Like always, we're gonna do the bottom half, do a little bit of discussion, and then talk about the top half. So at number 12, by default, Regicide Forsaken, I believe, no longer with us. RIP to Regicide. I think it's going to be GCCE All Smites that's taking over that spot. But this is power rankings of last week, and so Regicide Forsaken takes the de facto number 12 spot. I hate when teams FF. One of my biggest pet peeves. Number 11, Ember Flames. Number 10, Jolly Rogers Black Pearl. Number 9, Jolly Rogers Calypso's Calamity. Number 8, Rivals DX. And number 7, Forge Esports Atlantis. What are your thoughts for the bottom half? I know you're eyeing, everybody eyes the top half because that's what they're interested in, but we're going to focus on 7 through 12 here. What are your takes?
7 through 12, I mean, it's pretty cut and dry who belongs where.
Okay.
I think there could, with the way games have been going recently, maybe you could make an argument for 7 and 6 swapping, but I don't think there's truly anything else. This is a pretty clear bottom.
Okay. Okay, so we're happy here. I get the QST seal of approval, at least for the bottom half. Now comes the top half. Fantasy Troop Lucifer at number 6. Feed the Dream at number 5. Your KoKG at number 4. Solus Gaming at 3. GCCE Belmonts at 2. And a Forge Esports Mjolnir at 1. I want to know your initial reactions, and then we kind of discuss why some teams ended up where they are. But for you, are you happy with the top 6 as currently presented? If not, what would you change?
I think Kittens moves up one spot.
One
That's
spot.
it.
Okay.
I think I think, yeah.
Give me your argument because you don't have the head to head.
Okay, so a little bit of backstory about KoKG. This team was not supposed to like ever exist. This was supposed to be a TD roster, but
Okay.
apparently they didn't have enough players with the correct amount of games, so they had to drop.
Okay.
So I got the slot hours before season start, and I got a full team approved for the day an hour before the season started.
Okay.
And then the team met each other 30 minutes before the season started. And we took Solus 2-3.
Okay.
And honestly, we should have won it, but this is Solo Rusher's first split. He was learning comp setting and learning the people. And Mythic and Ratsu, maybe they just weren't comfortable calming at the time. And we had Elf Vamp, who is a top mid player, playing support.
Yeah.
So I think getting taken to 3 and Solus Gaming trying to hold that over us, I think that's a bigger L than it is a W for you guys. Let's be completely honest here.
Okay, well they don't make the rankings, but I see what you're saying. Unfortunately for your team, you did lose a head to head, but it I feel like it was close enough to where that's why you're at 3 and 4, right? Like you guys are neck and neck. You could debate the order. I think Jake even said it was pretty much a coin flip with you guys. So that's I mean, at the end of the day, I just took the head to head in consideration. They ended up at 3, you guys at 4. um One thing I will note about this top 6 is Feed the Dream actually moved down 2 spots despite a 2-0 victory, and I'm sure they're looking at this going, what the heck, like what just happened? Why did these teams leapfrog over us? So here, I'm gonna give you a little bit of insight as to what I have noticed from this Feed the Dream team. Okay, so they're over in the Kindle division. They open the season with a 2-0 loss to Phantom Troop Lucifer, who, as of recently, I'm kind of out on. They follow the next week with a 2-1 victory over Rivals DX, who is a team that is struggling right now in ECL. So that was their first win in week 2. Week 3, they get matched up against a Regicide Forsaken, which they lived up to their Forsaken part, as in the Lord had left them. For whatever reason, they just were falling apart. They get the 2-0 victory over that team. And then this last week, they pick up a 2-0 victory over Jolly Rogers Calypso's Calamity, who it could be argued only has a win because of the Civil War, and Black Pearl is that bad. So you tell me, is Feed the Dream a potential fraud at number 5?
I'm not going to lie. This is probably going to ruffle some feathers. I think from this standing down, 5 through 12, all fraud check.
Okay, fair. I,
I
I want to be in on Feed the Dream because I look at when they play so solidly. But the week 1 loss to Phantom Sheep Lucifer, and then the 2-1 over Rivals DX, I'm a little wary. I feel like 5 through 9 is kind of like tier 2, right? So you have your top 4, and then you have your middle teams, and then the bottom 3 are what they are. Which, hey, somebody has to lose in these leagues. That middle tier, I feel like, is kind of up for grabs until somebody separates themselves. 5 through 9, I'm just, it's kind of anybody's guess at this point, at least from my perspective.
yeah, I definitely think just looking at the rosters and the gameplay, I think if anybody is going to make it out of that hellscape that is the middle tier, I think it'll be Atlantis.
Okay. Hey, we love to hear that over here at Forge, but yeah, I don't know. I think it just depends on who wakes up pretty well in the morning and plays their best League of Legends, because like I said, I feel like it's up for grabs. And so far, um, you could debate whether or not Rivals and Jolly Rogers, Calypso's Calamity should be in that tier. I think they do. Like, Rivals played Atlantis pretty close. They played Feed the Dream pretty close. They haven't won, so that's kind of hard to defend. But um, I don't know. Like I said, some of my best work. Some might be saying these are close to perfect power rankings. I know you want KoKG at 3. I hear you. I understand the argument. It's definitely close though. Unless you got
I'll
anything else, you want to move on to the top lane rankings?
Yeah, that. Oh my goodness, there's a tornado near me. Yeah,
Oh,
let's move to it.
okay. We'll fly through these before things start flying through your living room. Um, de facto spot. So I just put Regicide Forsaken at 12. Um, from what I know, none of the players are playing in the league anymore. So unless something else changed, I don't know. I looked up the GCCE roster. Nobody's listed so far.
Mhm.
And these are power rankings for up to this week. So none of those players have played. So Regicide is going to be, hey, if you have been last the last couple of weeks, this is your week. You're not going to be number 12.
Yes,
Um,
Nick Bob, we love you.
yeah, Nick Bob 101 at the 11th spot from JRBP. Ember's Smoker at 10. PTL's Yupflow at 9. IDK Inc. at number 8 from Solus. And then Binzy rounding out the bottom half of these rankings from JRCC at the coveted 7 slot. QST, thoughts on the bottom half of these rankings?
Nick Bob #1. I don't know why he's so low.
Yeah,
Let's
for
be
sure.
completely honest with ourselves. Realistically, I don't pay attention to top lane a lot as an AD carry player. So watching top lane, I actually start falling asleep.
Okay.
So this is not my area of expertise, but I agree with these rankings so far.
Okay. I will say, and I know PTL's probably a little bit upset. I think Yupflow is as high as number 3 at one point during these rankings. Has since dropped to number 9. It's a combination of a couple things, but mostly like top lane is like the 1v1 role, right? Like that is, you're gonna be lined up against your opponent pretty much the entirety of the game, except for team fights. And Yeflo has been coming up tails on a lot of these matchups, specifically the last couple weeks. Could he be higher? Sure. But, and this is where I get to explain the power rankings so everyone kind of understands. It's not like a ranking of who's had the better IBSG career or who's more consistent on any given week. It is literally this split, this season, week to week. What are you showing me? And Yeflo has yet to show me very solid gameplay, at least the last couple weeks. So that's where he's at 9. Could he be higher in the future? Absolutely. Could he be lower? I don't know. I don't know about that one, but he could definitely be higher. So we'll have to see what happens as the weeks unfold. But at the top half of the top lane power rankings, we have number 6, Mossman3432 from Rivals DX. Shakes at number 5 from Forge Esports Atlantis. Ratsu at number 4 for KoKG. RX JD Dog from Mjolnir at number 3. Tame Feed the Dream at number 2. And then number 1 remaining in his top spot is T-Die from GCCE Belmont's. Thoughts?
I think you nailed it.
It's pretty. Oh, I'm just saying. This is some of my best work. Now, granted, it's a lot easier once we get like 4 weeks through. Like I can kind of see where everybody's kind of like evening out. But I know there's some Tame detractors. I've heard that Tame is probably a little bit too high. He's consistently winning his lanes when he's in top. I think he had a 1 week in mid lane. But ever since he's been top, he's looked pretty solid. Basically, the top 6 have always looked solid. Shakes has been a little bit more coin flip. I was like 2 weeks ago going 12 deaths on Investa. Wasn't the best look. So Shakes and Mossman, I think those 2 players in particular, they perform well in matchups that they know, and they get the counter. They're familiar with the matchup, and then when they're not, they tend to struggle. And then Shakes got the better of Mossman in the head to head, but it was close. But then the top 4, they're just consistent, and that's kind of what you need from your top laner, to be honest. Pretty much every player on your roster, but especially top lane. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if there's much more to say.
Yeah, I've played or at least worked with these top four players, except for Tame. Tame's the only one I have actually never interacted with, surprisingly. But T-Dye, amazing top laner, amazing teammate. J-Dog, amazing teammate as well. And Ratsu, this dude is a sponge. I swear to God, we never scrim or practice, and this dude just soaks information and takes it immediately.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Definitely really solid. Took a while to get him up there, but hey, we eventually got it.
The hard work is showing.
Yep. We move on to the jungle rankings.
Oh, thank you.
Your worst fears have been alleviated. So number 12, Regicide Forsaken. 11, I Gank from Ember Flames. 10, King Vivi from JRPP, which I believe this was his last week, their last week. So we bid you adieu. Number 9, Rivals DX's Sauce. 8, Tactical Nuke from Tactical X, apologies, from Atlantis. And then number 7, Dragging It Out from Phantom Troop Lucifer. Your thoughts for the bottom half of these rankings? The order, I feel like, can definitely be argued. But this is kind of as it sits through 4 weeks, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think the order, like you said, could definitely be argued, but I think definitely the bottom half, maybe 6 and below, are very clear cut divided from the top half.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't hate this order. Maybe Nuke goes a little higher. I'd probably put him above Dan.
Yeah, so that's interesting. Let's, because you brought that up, let's bring in the GCC Dan conversation. So he's at number 6 right now. Dragging It Out had been top half the entirety of the split until this last week. Similar to Yupflow, where realistically, when this team plays good teams, they lose. When they play bad teams, they win. Or lesser teams, lesser opponents, I should say. I feel like that number 7 spot is kind of like where you start to see some like coin flip play come out. Dan's interesting to me because when I was the couple weeks I've done this now, always seemed to be a very solid player alongside Lily. Or sorry, not Lily, Linda. Sorry. He's not on the roster anymore.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened. I don't know if you have any inside info that you care to share.
I will not share anything I know. I'll keep it at that.
So we can infer that something went down.
I won't say something went down. I don't know what I am at liberty to say and
Something happened.
not say.
Something happened. And what's curious to me is Dan, if he doesn't want to play with GCC or with JRCC anymore, totally understand, right? It's been a struggle of a season. My curiosity is piqued though, because how does this affect Linda, right? Mid jung duo is a pretty like important piece of League of Legends. And to see Dan, who, I mean, JRCC is like 1 and 3, 1 and 4. To see Dan at number 6, and then now he's out, like he's peaked in these power rankings, but he's gone. I don't know. It's kind of interesting. Number 5, Feed the Dreams, Lily. Number 4, Jake from Solus Gaming. 3, Tycon taking a little bit of a dip from that number 2 spot. So Theracles could fill that for your KoKG, and then RTG Bambi at number 1 from Forge Esports Mjolnir. The top half of the rankings, you already said, like, Dan could have been maybe a couple spots lower. But for that top 5, what do you make out from these power rankings?
Top 5, all I've seen from Lily, I've been really impressed. Same with Jake when we played him, even though it was our first week and we were struggling, like literally meeting minutes before a game. Yep. That was something we were very vocal about, is their jungler is going to get really nasty if we let them, so we need to be very aware of what they're doing. As for Tycon, I've also played with him. I was originally on the Belmont's roster before I ranked out and then made KoKG. So I'm not gonna say anything about him because we got a game coming up against them soon.
No bulletin board material. Yeah,
We're not giving them anything.
yeah. My opinion on Tycon is like I talked about this last week. Just super consistent, doesn't stand out, but isn't the reason why your team ends up losing. Whereas like Jake and Lily, Thero, Pambi have had some like pop off games. I think Tycon has kind of lacked that, but that's okay. Like you think of like the greatest junglers North America has ever seen. Like Tycon is IBSG's Xmithy, where Xmithy just showed up week in week out and played really well and made pretty much every international that he ever could. Um, and he's the goat for that, or one of the goats, but everyone forgets about him because he wasn't flashy. So I feel like it's a fine place to be. He takes one spot down because I think Thero has been playing very, 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 very well. Um, a little bit higher highs. You can argue like, hey, Tycon hasn't did anything to lose that number 2 spot. I hear you. I'm just, hey, the power rankings gotta get spiced up somehow, and that's basically how I took it. Jungle. But unless you got anything else, we'll move
Yeah,
on to mid
I
lane.
mean for Thero, we've talked about it before. We've kind of accepted the fact that he's not going to get number one until that week 7 matchup,
Yeah,
and that's when he's going to have to prove it.
yeah, yeah. It's tough too because like Pammy didn't get to play. Like, do I really like knock him down from number 1 because the other team FF'd? Probably not. So, um, mid lane rankings coming at you. I decided for taking at 12. Number 11, Old Man Hands from Ember Flames. 10, Poogie from JRPP. Number 9, Razors for Life from Rivals DX. 8, Call Me Loops from 4G Sports Atlantis. And number 7, Lucifer from Solus Gaming. There's your bottom half of the mid lane power rankings. Give me your thoughts.
I love him.
Okay,
It's
you love them.
beautiful.
That's beautiful. Yeah. So, okay, let me let me throw off my righteous name and put on the persona of Frank. Let me be Frank here.
Mm.
I've heard that Razors deserves to be higher, and I've seen it in action. I watched him play last week. In game 2, he popped off on RA. If you look at the top half, somebody in the comments, if they can give me a compelling reason why that Razors should be ahead of anybody else that is ahead of him right now, let me know. Because while I think Razors is very gifted mechanically, I know he was struggling with food poisoning, whatever week that was. I like he plays for Rivals. Rivals is my boys. Like I think Razors is a fine player. Mid lane is just pretty deep and pretty inconsistent from what I can tell for this league. When it comes to like basically number 5 and below, number 6 and below. I don't know what I can do to move Razors higher because like the way that the season is played out, like this is power rankings. If it's like career rankings, sure, you could say like Razors should be a top 5 player, right? But when it comes to like actual gameplay on the Rift for this specific split, I don't know. Everyone keeps telling, not everybody, but a lot of people keep telling me that Razors should be higher. I need to hear an argument or see that come to fruition because I just haven't seen it. And that's no fault to Razors. I think he's playing fine. I think that team is struggling, and Razors is one of the bright spots. But I just don't know how I can move them up right now. So if somebody comes to me and says this person should be higher, I expect a good reason why, other than what I've heard. Well, I played with him and I know how good he is. Like, okay, cool, dude. That doesn't give me anything for these power rankings. But that's my rant for power rankings because there's been a couple players, Razor's one of them, where everyone keeps telling me he should be higher, and I just don't know how to do it. Maybe I'm missing something, but Feed the Dreams number 6 is Rainster. Number 5, Linda72 from Jolly Rogers Calypso's Calamity. Caster at number 4 from PTL. Pot of Greed at number 3 from 4G Sports Mjolnir. Solo Rusher at number 2 from KoKG. And number 1, the artist formerly known as Buckby. Beru from GCC Belmont's once again, I'll say it again. You shouldn't change your name in the middle of a split. But regardless, that's the hill I'll stand on. For you, QSC, what are the top half of the mid lane power rankings telling you?
Honestly, I'm surprised to see Soup this high. I haven't gotten to watch him play yet, but seeing him this high, like I'm really excited for him because I have met him and he's a really cool guy to talk to. As for Rainster being below Linda, I don't know if I agree with that.
Okay. Just like I just said, you got to tell me why.
No, I understand. I think Rainster has had solid performances, and he has also been a very deep win con for this team.
Mm-hmm.
I know their bot lane is still good. I know their top lane is still good, but every time I look at their match results, it's always Rainster is going nuclear.
Mm-hmm.
I look at Calypso's Calamity and I see Linda, and I'm like, I'm not gonna lie, Linda's kind of inting with them.
Okay. Let me give you a counter argument, okay? Because
Okay.
they just played against each other. Game 1, I would say is a wash. Game 2, Linda ended up 6K above Rainster, and Rainster got clowned. That's all I'm saying. So in the exact head-to-head, now I granted Rainster had a hard matchup, right? He's playing Oriana and Diana, and I understand that. But at some point, like, we gotta throw bad matchups at the window. Like, you have to be able to navigate those matchups to tell me like you're a solid player. In the head-to-head, in a 2-game sample size, game 1 was a wash. Game 2, Linda came out on top. So I understand and I get the argument, right? Feed the Dream has been consistent. But, and this goes back to what I was talking about with the team power rankings, I'm a little bit wary of them because who have they beaten, you know? So, no fault to Rainster. Like, Rainster can't control who Feed the Dream gets on their schedule. But in the head to head against Linda, you can say Linda kind of got the better of him. Can you not?
No, I completely agree. It's just like I said, from the matches I've
Yeah.
seen,
Mm-hmm.
I would personally put him ahead.
Yeah. And hey, I knew it's close, right? There's a reason why they're right next to each other. So it's one of those things that, like, do I probably value the head to head more than I should? Maybe. Um, but at the end of the day, like, what? Let me actually a question. What is easier to do, to be consistently good and a top half power rankings player on a very bad team, or to be consistently good on a very average team that plays against weaker opponents? I feel like Linda is showing me a little bit more strength as an individual, considering, and this is like one of those things, like, she can't control. I mean, I guess she could control what her team looks like, but the team is struggling and Linda's consistently performing. Racer's doing the same thing, like, where his team's performing and he's consistently performing. But, like, what is harder to accomplish? I feel like setting yourself apart despite being on a bad team is a little bit harder. But I agree. Like, it was a very close matchup. You could definitely debate it either way. That's why power rankings are so fun. Um, I just put Linda ahead just because of that game too. And that,
I mean, that's completely fair. At the end of the day, I don't make the rankings.
yeah, we just gotta live by them. At the end of the day, I hold all the power. So you guys just gotta do. Hey, if you disagree with my power rankings, make your own. Cause that's more content, and people can discuss. Be like, oh, whose power ranks better or whatever. Um, but yeah,
I mean,
oh, go ahead.
oh, I was just gonna say, at the end of the day, yeah, you do make the power rankings. We show up every Sunday and watch this. You are God to us.
Yeah, pretty
Nobody else is
much.
making the content. You
Exactly.
you are our
Somebody gets
deity.
it. Somebody gets it. No, I'm just kidding. Cat Store 4, so similar to um actually this 4-5-6 slot is like consistent play. The team results either yet to be determined or they haven't shown me a lot, right? So, like, PTL I'm a little bit out on just because of their recent performances. But Cat Store against Beru, or however you say it, I'm gonna call him Buckby. Uh performed pretty well, actually. They're not a bad team, performing very solid, and then Rangers also performing very solid on a very good team. So 4, 5, 6. I could definitely see an argument for anybody else to take up that number 4 spot between the three of them. You're talking about Soup, Pot of Greed. So it's interesting. He changed his name because he was like, "Yeah, I've been inting too much. I got to refocus." He didn't get to show it this week because of the FF. Um, but last week he popped off after doing that. He said he's been unlocked, unleashed, if you will. So
Okay.
number 3, maybe on the merits of like I've seen this player play more than most, just because of being affiliated with Forge, but um, we'll see. I mean, there'll be plenty of chances for all these players to prove me wrong. Well, I say plenty. There's only 3 weeks left of the regular season, so if
Yeah,
you
this season has flown by.
yeah, it's been very fast. Solar Rusher, Solar Rusher, Buckbee or Baru. Sorry, I basically 1A 1B for me right now. Um, Solar Rusher's been performing very very well. Some might say that the top 3 on this list, they also have the 3 best junglers. So I don't know. Maybe mid jungle is just OP in this league, but they that combination of mid jungle for these 3 teams specifically has done them very very well. Um, we okay to move on to the bottom lane rankings.
Yeah, let's
Let's
get
do
it. This
it.
is my bread and butter.
This is your bread and butter. Registered for Forsaken at 12, Fujin from JRPP at 11, Muddy from JRCC at 10, Nubian King at 9 from Ember Flames, 8, Muerte from Solus, and number 7, Rivals DX Husky. Bottom half of the rankings. Now, this is your role. You know these guys. You just recently ranked out. Agree, disagree? What would you change?
Hot take: Nubian King needs to go to the bottom.
Okay, give me why. Give me a reason why. Because I
I
I debated it. I'm gonna be honest with you. 9th and 11 were probably the hardest part about this list.
I think 9 Moody, 11 or 10 Fujin, or I can't fucking
So
speak.
9 Muddy or Moody, however you say it.
Yeah.
11 Fujin or 10 Fujin, and then 11 Nubian King. That's what you're
Yes.
saying. Okay.
Yes. I think Nubian King, granted, probably doesn't have the greatest support system from the entire team. But this guy, if you don't give him Akshan, it seems like he just doesn't want to be there.
So he's just like an auction one trick, and if he doesn't get that, it's like, what's the point of playing?
Every time I've seen this dude go positive, not even pop off, positive, he's only playing Akshan. I could be absolutely wrong, and I haven't looked at the match results in a while, but off the top of my head, I only remember this guy ever going positive on Akshan.
It's been a rough season for Ember Flames. Now, maybe he's benefiting from the same thing Linda is, where he's on a very bad team and he's like the only bright spot. Um, I don't know. I mean, let's call it is like it is what it is. 9th and 11. You could definitely just convince me to change it around. I probably would. Um, not that not that the order doesn't matter. I mean, really, realistically, none of this matters. But Nubian King, Muddy, and Fujin have all had moderate success and very low lows. you know, so the other thing I'll say is like the most recent week weighs pretty heavily on these power rankings, and Fujin just got blown out of the water by I believe it was Mythic, right?
Yeah.
And that's a tough place. Like Mythic's a very good ADC, right? So should I hold it against Fujin? I don't know, but like, I mean, it was tough looks. Game 1 was a little bit closer, but still ended almost 3K down, and then game 2 was just not not very close at all. I don't know. I mean, maybe hey, if you want to make a power ranking and put Nubian King at 11, I could totally see it. I understand the assessment. At the end of the day, like, does it really matter? I don't know. So here here's where the bottom power rankings get interesting. So number 6 we have Accelerate, the sub for 4G Sports Atlantis. Number 5 Barbar Jonks from PTL. 4 Wolven Alchemist from GCC Belmont's their new AD carry. 3 Ballistic Demon from Feed the Dream. 2 Mythic Chaos from KoKG, and then remaining in the number 1 spot, as he's been basically the entirety of the season, is DT Dub from Mjolnir. I'm gonna give you. So I want to hear your thoughts, but I am going to give some justification. Uh, so for both Accelerate and Wolven Alchemist, that's their first series we've seen them play in ECL.
Yeah.
Um, could you say those players could potentially be as high as number 3? I could definitely hear an argument for it. It's a very small sample size, right? So I wanted to give Ballistic Demon their due. They've played the entire season, so that's why they ended up at number 3. And then for Barbar Jonks, he's a player that I'm having a very, very hard time figuring out. Where I feel like his laning phase is very solid between him and Dark Archon. They seem to be very good in the laning phase. But for an ADC, I would argue that the laning phase could almost come secondary to your ability to team fight effectively and output damage in those like mid to late game scenarios. I would almost argue that if you just took that piece of the role into consideration, Barbar Junk should be lower. Now, who does he go below? That's another question to kind of have to answer. He remains at number 5. Accelerate kind of got the short end of the stick, in my opinion, because he is a sub and he came in for 1 week only, from what I know. There's my reasoning. Now I want to hear your thoughts.
I think 4 and 5 should swap spots. My reasoning being, Wolven Alchemist, first series we've seen out of him.
True.
First game, really well done. Let me pull up the drafts just to fully remember and make sure I'm not getting anything wrong.
So it was the MF
the MF.
game. Mm-hmm.
I think he got probably a lot of resources. He's got Tycon to put everybody in a bowl and just let him bullet time.
Mm-hmm.
He's got Solar Flare from Leona. They just perma want to go in and bully this bot lane. And then he's got Buckbeard, the GOAT himself, just running the entire game probably.
Okay.
With that said, game 2, an equally big pop-off. He's got 3 frontliners and a Lulu, probably just perma sitting on his hip.
True. It's a hard draft. It's a hard draft for Jinx to play.
Yeah, I think genuinely any AD carry that just has hands and eyes and is looking at their monitor and has any sort of brain functionality that can communicate with their team, I think you excel in this draft. I think if you don't, we have bigger issues to talk about other than who's doing what. So I'm a little skeptical about him being ahead of Barbar, who, granted, did lose pretty heavily, but like I said, Wolven is probably getting a lot of resources and a lot of help to do the things.
Mm-hmm.
He still kept up with Misfortune in game 1 up until probably towards the end. And then on Jinx, he's only 1k gold down.
And a draft that doesn't favor Jinx.
Yeah.
Which
I would put Barbar ahead.
And I definitely see, this is why power rankings are fun. I definitely hear the argument, right? Now, I haven't watched the games. I don't know if you have.
I haven't gotten to watch them either, so I want to see.
What is curious to me about the game 1 in particular is everything about that bot lane screams that Barbar Junks and Dark Archon should come out ahead. And I don't think that's what happened. Which it could be, Tycon and Buckby, Baru kind of enforcing and imposing their will around the bottom side of the map. Or it could be that Bidamana and Wolven were just the better duo in that first game. Because realistically, right, like the Braum counters both bot laners in lane and out of lane. Where if GCCE decides to go in, Dark Archon should have a pretty solid ultimate to be able to make the game playable, as well as that over the bullet time for Misfortune. Now, like I said, I don't know if that's the case, but my gut reaction is that Wolven and Beatamana won a losing lane, which is very hard to do in the bot lane. Game two, I agree. I think Barbara Jonks, like that is not a Jinx draft, right? Um, the Oriana is more concerned about putting the ball on like a flanking Garen or a Mumu.
Yeah,
There's not a lot of peel outside of the Nautilus, right? And you can't really peel much when there's a Malphite on the enemy team. So the fact that Barbara Jonks actually performed really well, like yes, I think Barbara Jonks had a very very good game too. Game one, I'm a little bit more skeptical about how that game went on. Because it could be what you said, right? It could be mid to late. Like the comp was just easier to play for Belmonts, and so they were able to run away with the game, which could be very well be the case. I think that the laning phase is actually probably a little bit more poor for Barbar and Dark Archon. So that is kind of why 4 and 5 ends up happening. I agree though; it was very close. Um, it was kind of hard to kind of justify who should go where. But yeah, if you wanted to put Barbar at 4 and Wolven at 5, purely off of like we've seen what Barbar can do, and Wolven's still kind of an unproven commodity, I could definitely see that being a valid choice. Um, but other than that, I mean, Ballistic Demon, the top three are definitely the most consistent performers when it comes to the AD carry role. Um, is it Mythic Chaos that had you've locked in a couple mages bot lane, haven't you? Or is that Ballistic that I'm thinking of?
no, we have actually not locked
Okay,
any
it's
mages
Ballistic.
bot lane, and I'm very hesitant to because I am a traditional AD carry player. So seeing mages bot lane honestly makes me cry on the inside.
Hey, you saw my take in general chat. I think mages bot lane are probably underutilized right now, but that's neither here nor there. I think it's Ballistic that's had the little bit of a diversity in terms of gameplay with mages. DT Dub and Mythic Chaos on the traditional AD carries have done very very well. Um, so I'm pretty confident in that top three. But yeah, like 4, 5, 6, you could definitely move those guys around.
Yeah,
All right. Last but not least, the supports. Some say the most important position in all of League of Legends. Number 12, Regicide Forsaken. Number 11, Nubian Princess 24. Didn't bring out their patented GA Zillion, so that's an improvement in my eyes. Number 10, Tracker Jackers from JRPP. Number 9, Rival DX's Decipher. Number 8, I Am the Pink from JRCC. And number 7, speaking of Barbara Jinx, Dark Archon 43, rounding out the bottom half from PTL.
yeah.
I mean, yeah, let me know.
For the bottom half, I have my opinions on some of these players, but like I don't think I would change much. I think the
Yeah.
bottom half of bot or supports has just been in the nicest way possible so atrocious.
Okay, fair enough. So Dark Archon has shown some really good stuff. But once again, the argument of okay, like if I wanted to move him up, who would I move down, right? And after week 4, it's it's pretty tough for me to move anybody from the top half below him. I would definitely say he's solidly ahead of the pack. For the rest of the support players, Tracker Jackers actually had like a kind of whatever split or whatever series. Well, definitely wasn't the reason why JRPP lost, but didn't really show anything to kind of move them up ahead of anybody else. I think Decipher's now out from Rivals DX.
Oh, is he?
I think they've actually found a real jungler. So Sauce is or was supposed to be
Oh,
their main support, and was kind of filling it on an interim basis. Typhoon is now in, I believe. From what the roster, hey, if the roster sheet is wrong, you can't hold that against me. But the
if the
roster sheet is
roster sheet is
telling
wrong,
me,
we gotta beat up Dady.
yeah, the roster sheet is telling me that Typhoon is in. Um, it also told me that Dandon is out, and it's also telling me that GCC Allsmite has no players. So could it be not accurate? Sure, but I think that was, unless they need to, have a substitute again. Decipher's last week, which I think he had a pretty solid run. Um, I would. I feel like Rivals DX kind of got the short end of the stick with some things before the split even started. Had they had like a solid 5 for those first couple games, I could foreseeably see them beating Feed the Dream, but that's neither here nor there. That's not what ended up happening. So, but hey, it is what it is. I am the pink. I'm pretty high on that player as well. I think it was a pretty like tough performance from them this week, especially in game 2. So they ended up at number 8. Top half of the support power rankings. So you have Solus Gaming's Red Panda at number 6, number 5, Helium Bamboo from KoKG, 4, Crow from 4G Sports Atlantis, 3, Chubby Chernobyl from Feed the Dream, 2, Beatamana from Belmont's, and number 1, RK Out of Nowhere from Forge Esports Mjolnir. So I work with Helium, so Helium is actually on a team that I coach. Very, very high on the player. I debated on whether or not to just stick her at 6 because everybody else has played the entire split. But you're telling me that she's going to be playing moving forward, correct? Is
Yeah,
that
she is our starting support. She was always the starting support. It
okay?
was just waiting on BOL to finish.
So I feel like number 5 is a pretty solid spot then, because
Yeah,
Red Panda, love the dude. Been a little bit inconsistent. Um, whereas Helium came in, KoKG continues to perform without missing a beat. Um, Red Panda could definitely move up in these power rankings. Like 4, 5, and 6, I think are all pretty close. Maybe Red Panda not so much compared to the other two. Um, but for the rest of the top 6 here, what are your thoughts for supports?
I think we nailed it. I'm so glad to see Beta excelling like she has. She, like I said, I was supposed to also be on the Belmont's roster, and I love her to death. So seeing them, you know, do so well is amazing to me. Helium, I'm really glad that we were able to, transition and take that next stride and not stumble with her transitioning in, red face transitioning out. Everyone else, I think they've all cemented their spots and where they should be. The only person I would ever see moving within the coming weeks would be Helium, just because she will
Mm-hmm.
have more reps under her belt.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like I want to be honest with you. I've been pretty non-involved in IBSG for quite some time, so I don't know a lot of the names, but I do know the people that are within Forge, right? So Crow, this is her first split. Been really solid as a support player, which is great to see. Chubby's been around for forever. I think Feed the Dream, a big reason why Ballistic Demon's doing so well is because he has a very, very good support, and they have a very, very good support. Beta's been consistent. RK out of nowhere did get to play, but they've been consistent. Um, number 6 down, like I said, Red Panda been up and down throughout the weeks. Just honestly, like realistically, like if you want to end up at the top half of the rankings, just show like solid consistency, and you'll probably end up there. Because that's really good. What's gonna separate a good player or a what top half of the power rankings player from anybody else is if you could just consistently perform well week in week out. I'll take that player over anything else any day of the week. I'm gonna throw it back to us. So this is the hot takes portion of the Fireside broadcast. A couple hot takes for you. So one comes from Pamby himself. His hot take is that Spark has a higher skill ceiling than Kindle, but it also has a lower skill floor. So I'm gonna go back and look at these divisions. Um, Spark is the division that has Mjolnir, KoKG, and Solus, but they also have the incoming GCC Allsmite, what was Regicide Forsaken, Ember Flames, and Jolly Rogers Black Pearl, while Kindle is a lot more tightly contested with Belmont's PTL Feed the Dream Atlantis, JRCC, and Rivals. Uh, Give me a rating for this hot take from Pamby.
0. I'm shivering. Let's be completely honest. I think
Yeah.
uh, coming into it, everybody thought Spark was going to be a laughing stock of a division. I think now that we're 4 weeks in, I think Belmont's is the only person on Kindle that like genuinely like I think people need to be scared of.
Yeah, so what's interesting is like his take is about it's not comparing the two, right? It's like Spark has a higher skill ceiling, but also has a lower skill floor. And I agree, it's not a very hot take because if you look at it, the top 3 teams of the the division are very solid, right? You have Mjolnir, KoKG, and Solus, and the bottom 3 teams are not as solid.
There's
Right?
definitely a divide, but
Yeah. And
maybe I worded my answer wrong. But yeah, I think it's top 3 teams are like actual playoff contenders, and then the bottom 3 teams,
depending on what All Smite
uh,
looks like, I have no idea.
albeit all Smite, they're an outlier. Are
Yeah.
they're there to be there, and then on Kindle's side, I think it's Belmonts are
So my
just
question
genuinely
is like, because if we're comparing skill ceilings, right? So Kindle got the better of the group or of the divisions, in their cross division matchups in terms of the bottom half play like teams, right? So I believe
mhm.
Rivals beat their opponent, JRCC beat their opponent. Um, do you feel like the skill floor is higher over on that division than your own Spark? If you're
Yeah,
comparing
I
the floor, right? Like, do you feel like the floor is higher?
yeah,
Belmont's,
absolutely. Like I said,
yeah,
albeit
okay,
all Smite, but I think Flames and Black Pearl they're they're sunk into the Mariana Trench, and
okay.
we're still searching for them. They're looking for that Nautilus statue Riot put down there.
Yeah, they're looking for One Piece. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, I would agree with the ceiling, or sorry, with the floor take. The ceiling, I don't know. I don't know. Uh, Only because Belmont's exists. I think Belmont's. So realistically, like if you're looking at a top 4, I don't even remember what I just did for my power rankings, but I'm pretty sure it's Belmont's and then the top 3 of, yeah, it was Belmont's and then the top 3 of Spark. Uh, with the top 4. So I think they're on par in terms of skill ceilings, but yeah, skill floor is probably higher on Kindle. Another hot take for you. Forge Atlantis being the only team to push Belmont makes them clearly number 2 in Kindle over PTL and Feed the Dream. And then they labeled it lukewarm take, which
yo, who wrote this? We gotta find them.
I believe they're in Atlantis.
Yeah,
Their
I can tell.
username doesn't match any of the player names, but I would just I'll let you say your piece. But comparing the two takes, this one's a lot more hotter than Pambi's. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
this is definitely a hotter take because this is delusion. This
Okay,
is
you think it's
psychosis.
delusion? Okay, give me
Uh,
some thoughts here.
I'm not gonna lie. Like it's the same argument for like Solus saying they're better than
Uh
KoKG
huh.
because they won the head to head. At least in my opinion.
Mhm.
Again, it was 30 minutes before these guys got into a Discord call and then pushed you guys to 3. With Belmonts in them, you guys were all rosters and put together. I think it's a great feat that you guys took Belmonts 3, but I think it's one of those things where Belmonts were able to lock it up. Maybe they saw what was happening was wrong,
Mhm.
and you guys maybe just caught them on an off day because they haven't dropped a map since.
Yeah. So here's what's interesting. Um. So Atlantis, their last 2 division games are against Feed the Dream and PTL. So we haven't seen the head to head, obviously, which is why this take is so intriguing to me. If you're looking just at Kindle, right, and you see the standings, Obviously, Belmont's number one. I think what they're trying to say is because Atlantis took a game off Belmont's and Feed the Dream and PTL really haven't shown anything spectacular, right? So Feed the Dream has kind of had a weak schedule. PTL has won the games they won, should have won, and lost the games they probably should have lost. My question to you, KST, is based on what the take is saying, if you had to rank PTL, Feed the Dream, and Atlantis, would you take Atlantis at the top of that group of three?
No,
No? Okay.
no, I'm still taking Feed the Dream, and then maybe Atlantis.
Okay. So
But
you're a little bit
I
more
don't
out
think they're above.
on
I don't
PTL.
think they're above them. I still think taking one map off of Belmont's is still, and then reaching that far, you're giving the inch and taking a mile.
Okay.
We got to put you in a home.
Okay. So definitely a hotter take. Had let's see. For whatever reason, Talma just doesn't like me and won't put his takes in the YouTube videos, so he put them in my Discord chat. His take is that now, granted, this is a take that is going to be hard to argue one way or the other, simply because we have no information.
Mm-hmm.
But his take is that GCCE All Smite will make semifinals. Now, I don't know who's going to be on the roster, and I'm assuming that when they come in, they're going to be taking over the record of Regicide Forsaken. That's typically how it happens, right? So they're going to be coming in at a 1-3 record. Now, granted, to make playoffs for that division, all they have to do is make sure that they're better than Ember Flames and JRBP. So the bar is not very high to make playoffs over there. So I definitely think that they will make playoffs. Um, my reaction is that making semis would be very hard because I believe it's cross division for the playoffs, right? So like the number 1 seed would be taking on the number 4 seed of um the opposite division, or whoever wins, I guess. I don't know if one seeds. I doubt they would get bye weeks, but maybe if they do, whatever. So you'd be coming as the number 4 seed, and you'd be taking on at least number 1 or top 3 of the division opposite of them. I feel like that's a tall task for a team that has just been put together as of this week, right? All these other teams have been playing for quite some time. They'll be going to playoff fighting on all cylinders. Realistically, like let's look, let's see who else might has left. They have JRPP. I don't know if you're going to be able to learn much about yourselves by playing them, respectfully. They have JRCC in the cross division, so I don't know if they're going to really learn anything about them in that game. And then they end their game and they end their season against Solus. So Solus is going to be their real test, their first real test, the very last week of the season. That is a very hot take in my opinion. I don't know the rosters. I don't know what it's going to look like, but just based off of the logistics, that's a tall task.
I'll say this: if the roster is what I've heard it may be, this isn't a extremely hot take to me. This is a very middle of the road, mainly just because it is, like you said, so difficult to judge because we don't know the actual roster. But if it's who I've heard may be on it, this isn't the craziest take I've ever heard.
Okay. So, just for argument's sake, you have some roster details that I know obviously. If we're looking across the way, if they have to play the number 1 seed, they play Belmont's. So
Mhm.
for them to make semifinals, do you realistically think they have a chance of beating Belmont's?
Before I go any
If
before
that's
I
the
go any
case.
further, I forgot. How does playoffs work? Is
So
this
I'm
2
a
loss
I
out?
so the hey, we don't run a perfect production here. I'm assuming that it's cross division and that 4 seed from Spark would play 1 seed from Kindle. Now we could do a quick. We got some time. We're close to 2 hours, so we got plenty of time.
Oh,
But let's see divisions, eligibility requirements. season
Oh,
format.
single elim. Never mind. I take it back. First round exit.
First round exit. So let's see. It's gonna be playoff match. Seeding for the playoff bracket is determined by the results of the group stage. 8 teams will make the playoffs. Some top seed, if there was less than 8, then some top seeds may receive buys. So it doesn't sound like top seeds are going to receive buys. I'm assuming it's going to be cross division. That's my assumption. It says nowhere here that it should be. I'm a big proponent of, if you're going to have divisions, that the playoffs should be cross division, because we've already seen interdivision play. But maybe if it's the same division. So for argument's sake, you're already out on them after learning a single elim. But
Single elim, yeah.
for
I
argument's
think.
sake, if they come in at number 4, which I'm going to guess is going to be the case because of their record that they're taking over. If it's cross division, they have to play Belmont's, and if it's not cross division, they're either playing Mjolnir or KoKG.
Mhm.
Single elimination. Now, granted, they made playoffs in this scenario, so anything can happen. But in a best of 5 fearless draft against one of those 3 teams, do you think they pick up a win?
A win? Yeah,
No,
absolutely. Do
it's
I think
like
they
a
win the
series win.
series?
Yeah.
Oh no.
No. That yeah.
I think playing Mjolnir or Belmont's
Or
I
like
think those guys
if
are
you guys
tight.
beat Mjolnir, because it hasn't happened yet that game,
Mhm.
then you guys would be number 1 seed. I'm assuming.
I'm not jinxing it.
Okay, but if they had to play you, you would also assume that they would lose.
If they had to play us, I'm not gonna lie, they would probably put up a fight, but
Okay.
I just realistically don't see the team winning.
Yeah, I feel like it's a tall task only because your only test as a 5s, now granted they could be screaming, they could be doing all that stuff. Their only real hard test is the very last week of the season against Solus, because all they have left is both Jolly Rogers teams. So
Yeah.
like it's I think it would be a disservice to everybody else who's played the entire week or the entire season to say that this team can come in, only really play like one solid team, and then make semifinals and playoffs. That is pretty hot. That's a pretty hot take.
I think if there was a losers bracket, I think they could definitely make a run towards that,
Yeah.
but single elim,
Yeah.
you're going one in my eyes.
Fair enough. I agree. All that's left is to do our little preview, and then we're just about done. So let's get into it. Week 5 action coming at you. The Kindle side of things, we got PTL taking on Rivals DX, Jolly Rogers Calypso's Calamity taking on Belmont's, and 4G Sports Atlantis taking on Feed Dream. On the opposite division for Spark, we have Solus Gaming playing 4G Sports Mjolnir, Jolly Rogers Black Pearl playing, well, at the time of making these, it was
We'll
still
see if they're playing.
Regicide. It'll be GCCE, All Smites. And then Kingdoms of Kittens, remind me the pronunciation.
Gasa.
Gasai against Ember Flames. Uh, we can start wherever you want. Typically, we just go down the list from Kindle to Spark, if that's what you want to
Yeah,
do.
we can do that. It's your show.
So PTL taking on Rivals DX. I'm gonna throw it back to this because I have the matchups up here. But PTL taking on Rivals DX. That's kind of an interesting matchup, which I wouldn't have said 2 weeks ago.
Mhm.
PTL is kind of on the decline in my eyes. I don't know about you. I'm a little bit more out on PTL, but I have said repeatedly this pod that they're a team that beats the teams they should beat and loses against good teams. Um, if they lose against rivals, I would consider it an upset. And if they win, then it's just as scheduled, right? Um, I'm gonna say it's gonna be a close series, and it's gonna be 2-1. Rivals will finally have a real jungler in the position, and Sauce will go back to support. So that'll be interesting. That's something that, unfortunately for PTL, you can't really plan for, because you don't have any game film from them with that roster configuration. I think they get it done though. I think it's gonna be closer than some people would assume.
I don't disagree. I think this will be a close series, but I think it's still going to be a 2-0 for PTL.
Okay.
And I'm hoping PTL gets the Los Ratones LEC treatment where they need the one win and then they're in the groove again. I hope this is their one win to get back on track, but I think this is going to be a fist fight.
Yeah. I mean, they beat PTL, or they beat PTL. They beat Feed the Dream week 1. Um, and then they beat JRCC, which everyone but JRBP has done. So I'm curious. This is definitely like a get right game. Looking ahead, just for the sake of looking ahead, they'll end their season with a cross division matchup against Solus, and then their final match of the regular season will be against Atlantis, which would be, I mean, that's one everyone should be scheduling or circling because I think that'll be a playoff play-in basically.
Mm-hmm.
So this will definitely go a long way in order to make playoffs a reality for PTL. If they lose, then that division gets very messy very quickly. Um, JRCC taking on GCC Belmonts. I mean, we can, you know, pine for all we want for JRCC until we go blue, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be a Belmonts 2-0, especially because they've lost their jungler. Um, I don't know. Do you have anything else?
There's nothing to talk about there.
Okay.
To this moment, from my knowledge, I still don't think that roster has a jungler.
Okay. Yeah, that's a tough place to be if you're trying to play League of Legends. Yeah, I think Beaumont's gets the 2-0. 4G Sports Atlantis taking on the Feed the Dream. So this is where the Atlantis hot take comes to fruition. We'll get to see these teams in a head to head. I've said my piece about Feed the Dream. You could argue that they're kind of frauds right now. They've lost to PTL. They've beat rivals in a 2-1 very close series. They beat Regicide when they were broken. And then they beat JRCC. So they've had two games against some not great opponents in back-to-back weeks, and then they went the distance against rivals. Atlantis is IBSG to the core, where these players are very unproven. I think they can peak very high at any given time, and I also think they can run down any given game. So I don't know what to expect when it comes to this series, but I gotta make a prediction. I'm going Atlantis 2-1. I think it'll be close. Um, I'm just a little bit higher on Atlantis right now in terms of who they played, what they've looked like week in, week out. I know they got some roster issues going on over there in terms of their top laner. Uh, so maybe that changes things and Feed the Dream takes the victory. I don't know. I think this is a toss up for sure. What do you got, QST?
Yeah, no, I don't disagree in the slightest. I think this is either going to be a bloody mess or a clean sweep, and I do think it's going to be a bloody mess. I think shakes and nukes are what Atlantis needs to win this game, and if they don't show up, I'm going to cry.
Okay, well, I don't think Shakes will be there, so we'll see. Does that change your
What?
prediction? Does that change your prediction?
Yes, feed the dream 2-1.
2-1. Okay. Because yeah, Shakes is now a
Is he
sub.
out?
Shakes is a sub now. So,
When did I miss this?
well, he was not supposed to play last week, and he super subbed because their new starter got called into work. So,
Who's their new starter? That may change my answer again. Who
somebody
is it?
you've probably never heard of. I am Pookie.
Yeah, no. I'm just gonna keep it then. 2-1, feed the dream.
Okay, okay. I was curious to see that change your answer when
Yeah.
you said Shakes needs to show
Yeah.
up. Well, he's not going to be there.
I
I
was not
assume.
aware of this information.
I assume that he's not going to be there. He was supposed to be there last week, and he ended up playing. So who knows? And then for the Spark division, Solus Gaming taking on Mjolnir. So this is intriguing only because I want to see Mjolnir get tested, and so far it hasn't happened. Solus is their next test. Um, I'm curious. I think both junglers are solid for both of these squads. I'm curious to see how the rest of the map plays. Since I've been going first, I'll let you go first for this division side. Between Mjolnir and Solus, who you got?
I think it's a clear, obvious 2-0 for Mjolnir.
Okay.
I think Solus is in the same boat that we are. We haven't actually like been tested. Yeah, I guess you could make the argument that we played Regicide and then we played Atlantis, but those teams were kind of.
Hmm.
I think we were either the people who showed the cracks or maybe started like putting the cracks there.
Hmm.
But I don't think we've played anyone like actually worthy of like putting us to the test. The only people that did was Solus, and like I said, it was 30 minutes before. I'll harp on it until the day I die. It feels like, but
Yeah.
I don't think they've been tested either. They've beaten who was it? Ember and Black Pearl.
Let's see. Yeah, they played
They
Ember
beat
last
us, Ember
week.
and Black Pearl.
Yep. And then they lost to GRC or GCC.
So yeah, like I said, our game coin flip, Black Pearl and Ember. These guys haven't been tested. They're gonna finally get tested, and I'm not gonna lie. I think they're gonna run with their tail between their legs.
Yeah, I expect Jake to have another solid series. I'm very interested in the jungler matchup because I think those are two very solid junglers between Jake and Pambi. I think the rest of the rosters, when you look at them, like just sizing them up side by side, Mjolnir probably has higher ceiling talent and more consistency. Now, can Solus wake up on game day and decide we're gonna clap some cheeks and take 4G Sports to a 3-game series? Definitely, right? There's nothing stopping Solus from being good other than themselves. I've heard some mixed reviews about their solo laners, which is not what you want to hear when looking across Soup and JD. Just because those guys are typically rather consistent. And so I'll go Mjolnir 2-0. Could I see a 3-game series? Sure. One of the drawbacks to being an undefeated team is if you do end up losing a game, that could rattle you, right? In terms of like your mental. Um, so if Solus ends up taking one, then things get interesting for me. Because we haven't seen Mjolnir on the back foot. Um, if they don't though, then I expect Mjolnir to go 2-0. But if Solus takes one game and it goes to a game 3, then you could an upset might be likely. I don't know. We haven't Mjolnir hasn't been tested, so that Solus has to take that first game for me to say like, hey, they might win, which it seems like a tall task.
Yeah,
Uh,
I don't disagree in the slightest.
yeah, JRPP taking on the new GCCE All Smite. I got no idea who All Smite's on their roster, and I'm taking them 2-0.
Unironically, like, yeah, no, I am too. Like 2-0 All Smite.
I
Like I
do.
said, I know a little more. Like, if the roster is who I think it is, 2-0 all day. Like, I'm
Okay,
sorry, it's just not happening.
I say that in jest. Like it is. We like
I'm
to have
not.
fun. We like to have fun. I'm not making fun of you, Black Pearl. It's just the results are what they are. I would take the field over you right now. In terms of whoever else might could put on the roster. Now, I will say this is Jared BP's best chance to pick up a win. In terms of a team that is being put together. I'm sure like some of these players have played with each other. But like if JRBP wants to pick up a win this split, this is their best chance. Uh, because they play Rivals DX, which could be a close series next week, and then they finish the season with I guess Ember Flames, the Battle of Ass. So maybe not. Maybe that's their best chance, but we'll see. Um, Last up on the docket, we got your squad, KoKG taking on Ember Flames. I'll let you do your prediction. You could probably guess mine.
2-0.
Um, yeah,
I mean, genuinely, like I said, I don't want to flame Ember because like I don't know like what their situation is and how they're approaching their games, but
yeah.
like I'm not gonna lie. If my team drops a game, they're all benched. We're forfeiting the rest of the season.
Fair enough. Yeah, there's nothing about how the season has gone on for either of these two teams to really make an argument for Ember Flames. Um, it's kind of like the same scenario for Milner, right? Like if ever Flames upset you guys, then maybe there's like, that shell shock of like, oh crap, like we're about to lose the Ember Flames. But I don't see it happening. The talent for KoKG, no offense to Ember Flames, a lot higher. And sometimes that's all you need in order to close out victories. So KoKG operating on all cylinders, should have no issues there. And I mean that's it for the podcast for Fireside. Before I do my plugs and everything, QST, thank you so much for joining me. It's been a
Of
pleasure.
course.
Um, Before we let you go, this is your time to shout out anything you got going on with Kingdom, like Kingdom of Kittens, with yourself, whatever you're doing. And then I'll close this out.
No, I ain't got much. Shout out to my players. They've been amazing. We don't scrim. We don't practice. These guys don't even play flex queues together. Literally, I think Thero and Sill are the only ones who play together. You guys are losing to this rest of the league. You're on check.
Fair enough.
That's all I got.
That's all QSC. Hey, the gauntlet has been thrown. Once again, appreciate you for joining me. In terms of the things that I got, so 4G Sports, obviously giving us the platform to put this on. Shout outs to them. Definitely subscribe to the YouTube channel if you like the video. Then give us a like. We're still waiting on the 50 subs and a video to hit 20 likes or whatever I said for me to wiggle it on a video. And if you don't know what that means, you have to go back and watch what I mean. But besides that, we appreciate you, all of you, for tuning in and giving us some Ember Cinder League love and putting on a performance week in week out. We couldn't do it without Ember, so shout outs to them. We'll probably have the links in the descriptions and all that good jazz. So that's all I got for QST and for myself. Once again, thank you so much. You'll have a great rest of your morning, evening, or night, and we will see you next week for some more ECL breakdown. Take care. Goodbye.